Hi there, welcome to Color Quest. This is Margaret Byrd and I am so excited to see you here. I know that natural color is something you enjoy learning about and I love to share. So we have been looking the past 2 weeks at how to make green from nature. Growing up, green was probably my favorite color, and I loved all the different iterations of it, especially some of those darker greens. So the past 2 weeks, we were able to get a variation of greens, both using logwood as an overdye as well as iron, and we made it into some fairly dark and vivid colors on the green spectrum. Today, I'd like to look simply at what we can do within the color wheel, and logic tells us if we use blue and we combine it with yellow, we're gonna get green. So where do we get blue in nature? That would be indigo. So let's see what indigo can do as an overdye with Weld today in bringing us some new greens to add to our colors. So the I in Roy G. Biv actually stands for indigo. And in the natural dyers world, we look at it as a beautiful blue. Here on Color Quest, we have looked at indigo in a few different ways, and there are actually different kinds of indigo plants, and those bring about different colors. They also can be handled differently. So while there is Japanese indigo or fresh leaf indigo, which we've used here, the leaves will bring about a beautiful bluish green simply by mashing them. You can go to the very complex process of a different kind of indigo plant that requires a vat and a reduction method. We've also looked at that on Color Quest. As a matter of fact, I have a playlist that has compiled all of our indigo videos so far. You might want to go check that out. Today, however, we're going to be looking at a different kind of indigo. And this particular indigo is one that is water soluble. And you might be saying, what? What does that mean? Oh my gosh, I just can use it straight as a liquid into the dye pot? And the answer is yes, you can. Now, the blue that comes from this particular indigo is much lighter. It is from a Japanese manufacturer who has taken the leaves from southern India of a particular indigo plant. I'm going to put the name up here. I don't know how to pronounce it. And they have gone through a very long process of fermenting these leaves using precipitation to eventually be able to make a liquid that can be used with water. So no vat, no long periods of time, no need to even get those blue hands if you don't want to. So I'm going to use that indigo today. Beyond this particular brand that I'm using from this Japanese manufacturer, there is also a US group called Stony Creek, and they also have created a water-soluble indigo called Indigold. I have not tried that. Maybe I'll get my hands on some of that at some point to look at here at Color Quest in the future. But today we're going to work with this Japanese-made indigo and see what it might do to overdye Weld. Because it's a light blue, I'm hoping it will just bring us a slight shift, somewhat like the logwood, into a beautiful new shade of green. Let me show you the indigo. So this particular indigo is called Aijozome. I am not going to go further into the details about how to work with this indigo. That's going to be in a future video. However, I do want to show you what it looks like and let you know that it takes very little of this indigo to create color. Like I mentioned, it's going to be a light blue. I get this online from a company called Loop of the Loom, and it's kind of expensive, but it is quite potent. So this is the indigo and how I purchased it. There is the name of the company. They have it in smaller bags, and I'm simply going to use a tablespoon of this particular liquid into some water, heat it to a nice low temperature, and then put in my fiber to dye. I taught a class this weekend using this indigo for shibori techniques, and so I have some of that left over. I'm not going to make a new batch, but I did want to show you a clip of a video where I put this into water so you can see just how beautiful it is and how easy it is. In an effort to repurpose, I'm going to simply heat up at a very low temperature the indigo that I use for my class. It should have enough of that pigment left to bring us some sort of green in an over dye technique. So while I heat that up, you know what I need to do. I need to put my weld pieces into water to soak. We always want to work with wet fiber. And they have already been washed and pre-treated with a mordant. Since we are working with indigo, there would be no need to do another indication of a mordant because indigo naturally has a binding quality in the plant itself. However, these are already pre-treated anyway, so we'll just have a little extra oomph in their bind. So I'm going to put those in and we'll start heating up this indigo so that we can have a chance to see what it might do with weld. Very pretty, beautiful blue. Since we've had so much color variation, depending upon how long we left the weld in the last few videos, for the green that we used with logwood and even the orange that we made from madder root, I think I'm going to start today by timing it, and I'm going to look at it every 15 minutes. If I like what I see in 15 minutes in terms of a green, I'm going to remove it, wash it, let it dry. I can always put it back in the dye pot if I want to get it a little darker. Let's do it that way this time instead of having to back out after we let it soak for an hour plus. I'm really curious to see what this light blue is going to bring about with the weld. And there we have the final result of the Aijozome indigo over the weld. This is cotton, silk, and wool. And the wool is really quite vibrant. It truly shows up as a different color in this video. It's a much more lime green color. It is cooler than the other colors, and I left them in for about 45 minutes with 3 15-minute soaks. Now let's look at it next to other colors. Here's what we made with a 15-minute over dye, 15 to 30-minute over dye of the logwood. And this was the logwood in for an hour plus. And that looks pretty different, right? And then last week we had our iron dip. So if I raise you up, you can see all the different colors we got. Pretty. 4 beautiful greens, all done with the help of Weld as an under dye. So what color should we move to next? I'd like to come back to green, but first I'd like to look at that blue in the indigo that we used today. So next week on Color Quest, let's look more closely at Aijozome and see what kind of blues that particular indigo will bring about in our dye pot. Then maybe we'll find a way to bring green back in. Never know. Hope you have a great week, and I can't wait to see you here as we continue our journey through the rainbow at Color Quest. See you next Friday. We were able to get forest green and a chartreuse and lime green result by overdying Weld with, that is not what we did last week.